Hi, my name is Ray Angry, aka Mr. Goldfinger, and this is Sound Advice.
So first of all, thank you for joining us. Before we get started, just introduce yourself, give us your name and how you would describe your sound.
My name is Ray Angry, aka Mr. Goldfinger. I'm a pianist, composer, producer, collaborator, activist of sorts, business owner, and I love music. And the way I would describe my sound, I would say my sound is very fluid.
I like that. I like that. And I want to touch on, you mentioned, just all the different hats you wear, business owner, musician, activist. What are some core values that you hold or that you just keep across all those different roles? What are some of those similar values that translate?
Man, I think the most important of all the values is self-care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think that's the most important. And then I also think it's equally important how you care about others as
Yeah.
well. There's self-care and then there's interpersonal care. I feel like a lot of people go into sessions with preconceived notions.
Yeah.
They want to work with people that look like them. They want to work with people that think the same way that they do. And the thing that's disenfranchising about that is you miss opportunities. You miss opportunities to grow. You miss opportunities to write new music, meet new people. So I think being open is something that I find you only get when you care about other people.
I think that's one thing, the beauty of music, right? It's meant to connect you with other people. And like you said, people that aren't the same as you, right? That's why I love music, because it's the language, the universal language of all cultures, all people.
Yeah, and not to get too deep, and the problem with that is I feel like, because I grew up with music around me my whole life, grew up in art schools.
Yep.
Where I played classical music, where I, read sheets of music, but also playing in church and learning how to play by ear.
Yeah.
And being in both worlds and understanding how education can be a disservice,
Mm-hmm.
and playing by ear can be a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
Because people that can read music, this is just my opinion, most of the times they look down on people that don't read music. And then people that can't play by ear, most often you say they don't have a vibe.
Yeah.
So people with ear can have a vibe. That's why hip hop is so amazing, because it's really about how you feel.
Yeah.
And that's why a young kid can pick up any computer and start putting loops together and say they're a composer. That's not necessarily true, but again, the art of creating is self-expression.
Yep.
So you take whatever's before you and create something new out of it. So anyway, the point being is that, I think it's important to stay open. For me, music is fluid because I do classical music, I can do jazz. And I think it's important for creatives to understand the importance of just growing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I saw someone and I was working with, and they were using the transpose button on the keyboard. And I was like, man, put this shit back in the fucking key, motherfucker, and fucking play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Figure this shit out.
Yeah.
Don't play the shit that you normally use. Fuck that. Stop hitting the transpose button.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So holding each other accountable also I think is important.
It's overall community. I think that's a lot of what you're talking about, the community of whether it's by ear, whether it's, building each other up. And you also have Producer Mondays. So why is building community so important to you? And what advice would you have for someone who's maybe starting from scratch, trying to build a community?
I'm going to be very, very nice about this. I think community is important. It's very important because of all the fucking assholes that you meet in the music industry that are fucking gatekeepers.
Yep.
And dickheads that don't know shit about music. They only know numbers. And they also get artists who are very fucking creative and they kill their creativity. That's what happens. You have artists who are hot today, hot tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they go? They're back doing the same shit they were doing before they got famous or whatever. And no matter how high up you go, I've worked with so many people who are famous, who have made millions and millions of dollars, and are still unhappy because of the very people that tell you what your art is. So community is important because number one, it's boots to the ground. Number two, you're meeting people who are just like you. Number three, you're meeting people who have done what you want to do. and you get free game. And number 4, how are you going to change the system if you don't change yourself first? So by having a forum like Producer Mondays, you're allowing for these relationships to grow. I can't tell you how many people have come to Producer Mondays and have gotten gigs with Kanye West,
Yeah.
or have gotten gigs with this person or that person just because they were in the room.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that, I'm a gatekeeper in that regard, but I do see the importance of bringing everybody together. Imagine if you could change the world by having a conversation with someone who has dreams of becoming, the next, I don't know, Dr. Dre, or what have you, and you foster this relationship, and then they grow up thinking like, oh wow, this person helped me, let me go help someone else once they make it. But a lot of times when people are gatekeepers, they keeping the gate closed and they open it up for certain people.
Yeah.
And then you have, scandals where they get exposed. Then they're like, oh, this person did this, and they did this. Everyone knew what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? So I just think it's important to have community so people are held accountable, and also you have someone to kind of feed off of and grow with. Like, man, when I write, man, I don't know, man. I have to watch TV or something. What's your process like when you're writing? Everyone has a different process. So you might write music different from me, but I might say, oh, wow, let me not trip off of the sound of the snare. Let me not spend 5 hours on the snare sound and spend that other time like writing music. Like Prince, for example. Like Prince would go and do a session, record a song, boom, 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 and he's done. And they're like, and the engineer's like, you don't want to fix that? No, it sounds good. It felt good. You know what I mean? And you look at Prince and what he's done. You know what I mean? So I think being able to learn from our mentors and having a space where they can all congregate together and have that conversation is important. So I think community is everything. And I love capitalism because this word seems to be thrown around a lot. I love capitalism, but at the same time, there's nothing to capitalize on if there's no community from which to foster something to manipulate and capitalize on.
I need to write that down. I'm gonna keep that.
Sorry.
I'm gonna keep that.
I'm sorry. I'm around a lot of dickheads that make me think about, about music in my life. I'm so fucking serious, man. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of working with the most famous motherfuckers in the world, and a lot of them are fucking dickheads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the fucked up thing is, a lot of them have an expiration date. If you think about the music industry from the 90s to now, you think about who had the hot records and then who took over after that, and how the sound of music develops. Then you have AI, So I think it's time to have this conversation where creatives are having a real conversation with capitalists, people in tech, people in AI, people that are building AI. Yo, let's get together and figure this shit out.
In a similar vein, you kind of took ownership of that, right? Starting your own music group, becoming a CEO. Can you talk about, or just elaborate more on why, as a creative, knowing the business side is so important, and knowing what's going on behind those rooms and behind those doors is important to you as a creative?
Yo, so that's such an important question. It's important because, prior to the pandemic, I would say I was one of those artists that was coasting, because I was traveling. My passport was off the chain, working with this group, working with that group, and the pandemic, so I was basically on autopilot, if you will, working, had money, just living the dream, so to speak. Then the pandemic hits, and all those gigs that I had, retainers, everything that I was doing for other people, the floor fell open and I lost everything. So at that moment during the pandemic, I had to reinvent myself, and I said, you know what? And prior to that, I broke my wrist, so I couldn't, I was rebuilding my skills as a pianist, And so I said, man, I got to figure this shit out. And I said, you know what? It's time I bet on myself. And that's what I did. And so then I realized that I've been thinking about these things for a very long time, but never put myself in the center stage to have these conversations. So the pandemic forced me to reinvent myself, and as I'm reinventing myself, I discovered that, oh wow, this whole time I spent carrying bricks to help someone build their own house, I was taking bricks from my own house to helping them build their house. And then at the end of the day, as a creative, you know, your job is a job of service. And so what happens when the people you serve no longer serve you and you don't serve a purpose for them? So as a creative, I think it's important, no matter how dope you are, you could be like a genius and play the most amazing shit no one's ever heard, you know? But there are people who aren't as talented who know how to take a person like that and say, hey, can you do this, da, 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 and they make money off of it. And then a person who's a genius, who's really only focused on the art, aren't able to make a living for themselves, you know? So I think it's important for artists, I'm saying all that to say that it's important for artists to think of themselves as a business, because this is a business and we're serving people who are clients. It could be an artist, it could be a record company, it could be a tour.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It could be a brand where you're like, you know, working with SoundExchange, you know, or any other brand. You know, it's about partnerships and collaborations. So I think it's important. It's important for artists to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Because everything else is already in the box. What genre of music do you do? What style of music? Where are you from? What's your demographic? There's all these boxes that we have to fit into that we didn't sign up for. Your gift is given to you. You don't have to say, God, hey, how much for my talent?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your talent is free, but in order for you to make money off of, in order for you to work, you have to sell yourself. So, you know, why not gamble on yourself?